Hi little skeletons, it is Disney Queen Skelly here. So this is kind of a different video. I initially had like 3 jobs I was going to talk about where you just it's a nightmare working for them. But in all honesty, I couldn't remember the other 2. The only one that really stuck out in my mind is the one we're going to talk about today. I do apologize for my just woke up appearance. I don't really think I'll be dressing up for any more of these videos anytime soon. In the future maybe, for now, not so much. So the one job, the experience that I want to talk to you guys about that I didn't particularly like, because in my opinion, the people who were conducting it were, needless to say, a little too lazy, and I did not appreciate how orientation was handled. So the job we're going to be talking about today is in the title. It's Macy's. Now, I don't work there, so I can talk about this. If I did work there, obviously I wouldn't be talking about it, and I probably wouldn't be making this video either. Macy's is basically like a, I don't want to say it's a clothing store. It's got everything. It's got clothing, makeup, perfume. It's got furniture. It's got really anything you can think of other than groceries. And it's honestly a wonderful place to just shop around. I do have a Macy's credit card. That was like the first credit card I ever got. I only ever used it once. Haven't used it since. But who knows, I may end up using it again at some point. I mostly shop clearance anyways, so it's not really that expensive. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because I feel like it's been a long time coming for me to talk about what had happened at this job. Oh, and I actually just remembered the other one, so I'm gonna write it down real quick before I forget. So the title will still be the same, the worst job experience I've had with Macy's, but I guess we'll talk about both. So clickbait title. With Macy's, you know, when I went to go apply, like I applied online, so that part was, it was easy. When I applied online, I got the message that I would be coming in for, I believe it was orientation. I think I got hired on the spot. So I went to the Macy's location that they asked me to go to, because there's like a couple Macy's location. There's a women's location and then there's a men and children's location. So I went to the women's location. And where they had me, I had to wait outside this door. And this was still around the time where masks were kind of almost completely dissolved. There were only maybe a couple of places that still required them, and Macy's was one of them. So I had to put on a mask, and then I walked back there, and then they were like, okay, here's this piece of paper, go ahead and fill everything out on the computer, and then just follow your packet. There was 2 women who were behind desks. One was entirely new. I think she was doing her own training, and the other one seemed like she had been there for a while. So I finished up my online stuff. It took literally almost the entire session that I was there. They had to have me stop at a certain point or else I would actually go over my time. But in between this 4-hour session, they had me do what they called a scavenger hunt. So I had to go and hunt down everything that this list had. There was like a break room, an elevator, bathrooms. And I asked them, I said, so you guys don't take us around to find these locations? We have to find them ourselves? She goes, well, unfortunately, with how many people we have applying for this job and doing the orientation, we don't have time to walk you all around to show you what we have. And I'm not talking like just in the Macy's women's department. This was going to be scattered into the men's and children's department too. So I asked, and I told them, I was like, well, there's only 2 of us here, and the other girl is leaving in like 5 minutes. You know, I'm not trying to complain about this, but, you know, I thought it was, you know, because up until this point, any job I had always had someone showing us around. And I said, so you won't be showing me around? They said, no, unfortunately not. Go ahead and find everything. I couldn't find a good majority of this stuff. Like the break room was hidden behind this emergency exit area, and this other part of the store was like located in the upper level. It was just a pain in the ass to try to find everything. And so when I showed them, I was like, okay, here's what I missed. She's like laughing at me like, well, this was over here and this was over here. And I'm thinking, if you had shown me around, I would have known where these places were. So 1, because of the mask rule, and 2, because there seemed to be no care about who they were hiring. I didn't even want to know what the rest of their training process was going to be like, so I said, no thank you. The second job that I worked for I do remember the third. I think definitely at this point I'll have changed the title. So what I mentioned in the beginning about this title being just the one store, no, I remembered all three. So the second one I want to talk about, I don't quite remember the name of the company, but what they stood for was helping people with their student loans, which was obviously something I could get behind. No one wants to have student loans at all. They're disgusting and they're very hard to pay off. I feel like there should have been a fourth job in this one, but I feel like I've already talked about legendary executives, so I won't be talking about it here. If I haven't talked about legendary executives, for those of you who have been with my channel, please let me know in the comment section down below and I'll make a part 2 of this. So this company seemed great. The guy and the girl who hired me were very sweet. I called them like a couple days later and they said, oh yeah, you're hired. Just go ahead and show up on this day at this time. And I was like, sweet. So I ended up going to the orientation, which was about a week. They took about 2 to 3 days for the collective group, and then those of us in customer service versus those of us who were helping people start the application were 2 entirely separate orientations after that. So the issue I had with this company, granted everyone was very kind, everyone was very sweet, everyone knew what they were doing. The issue I had with this company was how they conducted their orientations for the specific groups. So the first orientation we had was basically teaching us how the applications worked, and then they expected the people who were writing the applications to just immediately go into it afterwards, which is kind of what happened. But for my group, we were shown how to basically help with customer service in terms of different sections of the application, or like different questions that the customer may have, where to find that information. And then occasionally we would have to go in and update the application if necessary. My issue with this group was one particular thing that kept happening. Among everything that was going on, the one thing that bothered me was that the trainers would zoom through everything. So I was learning new information that I had never known before, right? So it was dealing with loans and interest rates, and I don't have a degree in financing or whatever the degree is in order for you to maybe work at a bank. I don't have that degree, and they didn't require you to have a degree to work here. So every time they kept saying, it's easy, it's easy, it's easy, and they would just breeze through it, I felt extremely overwhelmed. I didn't know what was going on. I even took notes, and that still didn't help. So finally, by the time we were on lunch for our first day of orientation for the customer service people, I pulled the manager over and I said, you can't be telling people that. And she goes, what do you mean? I said, you can't be telling people that this is easy, especially when there's 2 of us who haven't done this before. You know, I understand for other people. There was a woman who came from real estate. There was another guy who came from like a similar occupation. And I'm so sorry in advance that I sound like a Karen, or that I sound very nitpicky, or that I sound like just not the way I'm supposed to. But I told her and I said, look, there are 2 of us in there who have no idea what's going on. And it's incredibly frustrating when we're told that it's easy, when the 2 of us maybe don't consider it something easy. It may be easy to you because you've worked here for so long, but to people like us who haven't done this, it isn't easy. And the expectation that you're giving that it is easy, if we find something difficult, it's like almost anxiety inducing, because now we're afraid to ask questions. And she said, okay, well, I'm so sorry that you feel that way. I said, I can't work for you guys if this is the expectation, because I'll feel like it's too much pressure on me to try and figure it out. And if I ask for questions, I'll feel like I'm just being bothersome, like I should already know what I'm doing. So I left. I will preface by saying this was also around the time that I got my new therapist and was trying to figure out why I couldn't hold down a job, so that was kind of part of it. But then eventually I was like calmed down enough, and I eventually found a new job, and this is where the third one comes in, with Beyond Bank Card. Beyond Bank Card is a wonderful place to work. The pay was fantastic. We would also get commission. It was a very nice air-conditioned office 5 minutes away from Disney. It was literally perfect. I was there about a week and a half before I was let go. And the reason why I was let go from this job, in my opinion, was incredibly stupid. So around this time, Luis had actually gotten sick. I don't know with what, but he got sick. Now, granted, he does work around kids, so it can be anything. It could be a cold, it could be a flu, whatever. But he got sick. And because he and I sleep in a room together, I got sick in turn. So I went to work the next day still sniffling, coughing. My manager pulled me in and he said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm just feeling a little under the weather." And he goes, "And you still came in?" I said, "I'm sorry, I don't mean to get your girl sick. I'm so sorry." He goes, No. Like, I'm impressed that you came in, granted that you're still sick." And I said, "I don't really like missing work, especially when I'm so new." And he goes, "Well, tell you what, I'm gonna send you home because you need to go home and rest. Come back Monday and we'll restart your training." I said, "Okay." So Monday I go back in and I restart my training. Wednesday rolls around and I end up meeting this manager lady who was not the nicest person, mind you. And it was the day before her birthday. Now on this particular day, I was actually supposed to meet up with hubby and his friends at Disney after work and then leave maybe like a few hours later and then go back to work the next day. Well, that particular day I was asked to do something that I had never done before and my panic attacks started to kick in and I was like, no, I can't let this happen again. And this was also the same day that the Oogie Boogie Bash tickets had gone out. So I bought my ticket and I was learning. And so anyways, I was asked to do something that I had never done before. And I didn't, like looking back at it now, it was an incredibly simple task that I easily could have done. But something in my brain was just overwhelming me. And I didn't like it. So I asked that manager if I could just take like 5 minutes in the girls' restroom to calm down. And she goes, yeah, go ahead. So I called Luis and I tried to have him talk me down, try to calm me down. And I hung up the phone with him and the manager walks in and she says, "You need to go home." And I said, "No, I want to stay. I want to work." She goes, "Not in this condition. You're not. Go home." So I ended up going to Disney, came back the next day, and then about 2 hours into my shift, I was let go because I was deemed unreliable because of 1, being sick, and 2, one day that I had a panic attack. Meanwhile, every day before that, I was taking notes. I was observing the training. I was doing everything that I could. And I was still deemed unreliable. Thankfully, though, I considered those opportunities or lack thereof kind of a wake-up call. Because if it wasn't for me, like just leaving those positions and getting let go, I wouldn't be at the company that I am today. And I'm very grateful for the company that I work for. They are wonderful people, very kind, very considerate. I've been working my ass off. I've felt more comfortable in this job than I have really since I basically left Disney. And I love the fact that I can say that I can say like, I feel comfortable and happy at my job. I don't regret going in. I don't regret waking up. I'm not crying, panicking going into my job. And that's what I was really looking for. So if you're looking to work a new job, I just wanted to give my 2 cents of 3 places you should not work. I do apologize that I can't remember the name of the second one, but please don't work for Macy's. Don't work for that student loan company unless you've done something previously like it. And please don't work for Beyond Bank Card, at least if you're in the Southern California area, because if you're sick for a few days or if you suddenly go home because of a panic attack, you're automatically deemed unreliable. So thank you guys so much for watching. I do apologize if you do work for these companies and you've had a better experience than me. Maybe it's the particular branch that you're in versus the one that I went to. And that can most certainly be the case because, just because I've had a bad experience at one place doesn't mean that you're going to have a bad experience at somewhere that you live, because everyone who runs a certain branch is different. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have comments about these places, please put them in the comment section down below. And I will say this as I say every time, please be kind in the comment section. If you guys end up having a debate, please make sure it is a kind and clean debate. Do not end up attacking each other because that is really not necessary. So thank y'all so much for watching. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye, little skeletons. Please stay safe. I love you guys.